College Sports Now, back on a Thursday after 11 o'clock Eastern, somewhere in the ballpark. That's where we come to you each and every week. Kyle Schassburger and David Kahn back with you. Had a weekend at number 13 at Kyle Schass at SportsCon 4. Of course, if you're getting this via audio form only, we thank, as always, the OGs, wherever you get your podcasts. And we're live Thursdays at 11 o'clock Eastern on the Varsity Network channel on YouTube. Kyle, we're going to have Randy Mazey, head coach of West Virginia baseball, joining us on the show here in about 15, 20 minutes or so. Depends how much I yap and he flaps his gums about the D1 baseball field of 64 projections. Another week, another release, the tournament projections, and Con, they mean a little bit more each and every week as we get closer. Only 2 weekends of the regular season remain, with games beginning on Thursday night this week, and then all the conference series are going to be Thursday through Saturday next week ahead of conference tournament week, which begins on May 22nd. And Selection Monday will be here before you know it, man. It's a beautiful time, and as you and I discussed earlier in the week, we broke bread, we played kickball together, we played darts. It was about a 4-hour regional affair between 4 individuals.
Oh, my God.
Couldn't
hit a bullseye.
You went 0-2.
I did.
I got beat. All I needed was one victory. I got beat to force the 7th game of the regional, but we talked a lot about Hoover. We were training for Hoover.
Seriously.
We were building team chemistry, team-building activities, kickball Tuesday night, along with a local watering hole.
Yeah, it was a great time. Always enjoy when we break bread and have other colleagues come and join us for our fun nighttime activities. But, yeah, you mentioned the D1 baseball field of 64 just meaning a little bit more this week, and I think it means a little bit more, obviously because, like you said, there's only 2 weekends left in the regular season, and then there's conference tournaments. So each succeeding week, it's going to mean a little bit more because that's more realistic of what the field will actually be. But I think this season specifically, it's meant a little bit more because of the parity that we've seen, especially in the top 8. 2 new seeds coming in as top 8 national seeds this week with Duke and West Virginia. West Virginia and Kentucky joining the fray as top 8 seeds. South Carolina and Florida dropping out of the top 8. They're still in the top 16. You have new top 16s coming back into the fold. Clemson, as we expected, now a projected host seed, and UConn comes back into the fray. DBU, Indiana State, and Oregon are out of the top 16 for right now. And obviously the biggest jump is at the top. Wake Forest is now the number 1 overall seed as expected, with them moving to the number 1 slot in D1 baseball's top 25. LSU just down 1, down to number 2. But as you see the teams continue to shuffle back and forth, it shows how nip and tuck it is to be on that right side of the bubble, which really puts the spotlight on the last 5 in and last 5 out. And as we've seen, teams like NC State, Virginia Tech, Texas State, Oklahoma, USC are all strangleholding that jump rope of which part of the line they're going to be on. Some are on the right side this week, some are not. But again, there's 2 weekends left. There's conference tournaments left. You can change your fortunes at the drop of a hat. And for these mid-major teams, or for these Power 5 teams, you are rooting for the mid-majors that are projected to win the regular season to win the conference. Because if they don't, that's one less spot for you to get in the field of 64.
No doubt. We talked about that some on Tuesday in terms of, not rooting for multiple bids. And they're going to get multiple bids like the CAA. They're going to get at least 2 teams, but you can argue that a 3rd team belongs. And even in the Sun Belt, 4 teams belong. Now, I don't know if it's going to shake out that way. Likely not when the dust settles from an RPI standpoint. But the fact that we still have 2 weeks remaining in the regular season, and we're talking about the Sun Belt maybe getting 4, the CAA maybe getting 3. Those are spots that the SEC is looking to gobble up. But those spots just aren't going to be there. We've talked a lot about our favorite projected regional side over the last couple of weeks, Con, and we've picked those out. So I'm going to ask you again, based on the latest projection that we have, Wake Forest 1, LSU 2, as you indicated already, Vandy at 3, Arkansas 4, Stanford at 5, and UConn sliding in as the number 16 seed to get that last regional spot. They'd be paired up with Winston-Salem and Wake Forest. Is there one among these 16 regional sites that stand taller above the rest in terms of maybe how difficult or how manageable it might be for a seed that doesn't have a 1 next to its name?
So I will say the one that's going to be the most fun for me, and no surprise, it was the most fun last year, the Stillwater Regional. Now, I still don't buy Oklahoma State as a top 16 host for right now. If they beat Kansas State this weekend, I'll buy it. But for right now, I'm not sure I see them as a a number 15 overall seed in the field of 64, especially when their opponent, Kansas State, who's nip and tuck with them in the Big 12, is a 3 seed in the Nashville Regional. So if Oklahoma State can take care of business against Kansas State this weekend, I'll be all in on the Cowboys to be a top 16 and a host seed. But look at the regional. Oklahoma State, Oral Roberts, Dallas Baptist, Texas A&M. Offense, 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 offense.
That's brutal.
Boom. I mean, it's going to be the boom box, not in Winston-Salem. Crazy. Just, I'm so elated for that one. One that I want to keep an eye on, not for any particular reason other than the team names in the regional, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Southeast Missouri State, Texas, and Washington. Couple of teams that are Omaha Blue Bloods, right? Arkansas and Texas. Team that's been a sleeper all year but has been kind of hanging around in the Pac-12 in Washington, and then Southeast Missouri State. You never know what they're going to do if they get into the field of 64. The one that I think actually has become a slightly easier draw, and this is a team that is desperately needing to win a regional because they haven't been able to get it done, going to Gainesville. Florida gets Arizona State, who's tailed off, Troy, and Army. Not saying it's a gimme, but I think that's a more favorable draw because remember, last week Florida had Florida Gulf Coast. Florida Gulf Coast has now shifted into the regional and Coral Gables with Miami. So I think Florida's draw got slightly easier. Not saying it's a gimme they're going to win, but I think they got slightly easier if that was the 4 that were going to Gainesville.
Quickly on the fly here, I'm trying to pull up the Gainesville Regional from last year because they hosted last year. Mm-hmm. Did they host in 2021 as well?
I believe so.
Because you're right. If memory serves correctly, this is an easier pill to swallow than previous years
they had Oklahoma
for the Florida Gators.
Last year. Oklahoma went all the way to the finals.
In 2021, let's see, Florida. Gosh, it was Florida, Miami, South Alabama, and South Florida in 21.
Okay.
Wasn't that the one USF came out of? Because I think they went and played Texas and took Texas in a super.
Yeah.
Going purely off memory here. Feel free to
looking this up.
Interact with us at CS Now Tweets if you want. On Twitter, Michael Surber, by the way, will not be with us today. You can follow him, though, at @L_Surberino. He'll help to put this together and inject it into your podcast feeds afterward. But Florida, Miami, South Alabama, and South Florida was the Gainesville Regional in 2021. Last season, let me just pull up their schedule.
Oklahoma won the regional.
Yeah, the easiest way is just pull up the schedule. It was Oklahoma, Central Michigan. I don't know who the third team was because Florida didn't have to see them.
Yeah, Florida went 0-2 in that regional in 2021. They lost to South Florida, and then they got bludgeoned by South Alabama 19-1.
Yes.
Is what happened. I'm pulling up I believe South Florida won that regional. I don't remember, but I'm going to pull up their schedule and find out as you find out the Florida stuff from last year.
Yeah, it was South Florida, I want to say, going to Texas. But, yeah, Florida last season, again, in that regional was Central Michigan. They won 7-3, lost 9-4 to Oklahoma, had to come out of the loser side after that, beat Central Michigan, beat Oklahoma to force a 7th game of that regional, and then lost 5-4 in a one-run game. Again, weather's always a thing, too, wreaking havoc over these southeastern regional sites that time of the year in early June. So, yeah, based on the projection.
You were right, by the way. South Florida won. They beat Florida, beat Miami, got a game suspended against South Al, lost, and then beat them the second time because South Al had to beat USF twice since they were unbeaten. Then they went to Austin and got run out of the
company. No contest.
Yeah.
Again, Texas and Stanford, the only 2 teams that have made back-to-back College World Series. Each of them, especially Stanford, as a top 8 overall seed. A super regional would go through the farm again in Palo Alto, the number 5 team with San Diego State, Alabama having to go all the way out west. That's intriguing because, again, a team playing with maybe renewed energy, a chip. You fire their coach thanks to a connection to suspicious wagering, which, by the way, God, take us back 1 week right now. 1 week ago.
Breaking the news.
Was when the news was breaking that Brad Bohannon was fired. So
Oregon, by the way, cross coast in the Coral Gables regional this week.
Yeah. Duke and the Durham regional is the one that is just so scary.
Yeah, that was the other one.
Duke is the 6. They'll have Loyola Marymount, but a 2 seed in East Carolina and a 3 seed in UNC Wilmington.
God.
I mean, really?
3 North Carolina teams all battling it out in Durham.
So how many? So and forgive me if you had already outlined this, but the ACC has got 9 bids.
Mm-hmm.
The SEC projected with 11, which would break a record, right? I think the most was 10.
Yep.
Okay? So that's the projection. The remaining conference representatives, 5 out of the Pac-12, 5 out of the Big 12, 4 out of the Sun Belt,
3 out of the Big
as
10.
I prefaced, and 3 out of the Big 10. So no more than 2, I'm guessing if I peruse through here, it would be Northeastern along with UNC Wilmington.
For the CAA.
Yeah,
Yep.
from the CAA. That's likely where it's going to fall.
I don't see it's a third, unless someone other than UNCW or Northeastern, like an Elon,
Yes.
wins the tournament.
And if you pull up let's look at the Sun Belt Conference, so your top 4 teams, tell me who's not if you're able to tell. We know Southern Miss and Coastal Carolina are in there, and the Chants are a top 16. Where's Southern Miss land?
Southern Miss is a 2 seed in Nashville.
Going to Vanderbilt. And Coastal, the Conway Regional, is 4-seeded Wofford, 2-seeded Tennessee, 3-seeded NC State. God.
Another tough one.
God, for Coastal. Yeah.
Jeez.
But for the Sun Belt, so Southern Miss, Coastal are in the latest field of 64 projections. What about Texas State, who has an RPI of 37?
Texas State is among the last 5 in. They are a 3 seed in the Morgantown Regional.
Okay.
Along with Maryland and Wright State.
They've won 8 of 10, 6 of 7 in Quad 1 games.
Yep.
33-16, 15-9 mark in the Sun Belt. Good for 3rd overall. Louisiana, are they in the field?
Nope, they are among the last 5 out. No, they're not. Actually, they're just plain out.
Okay, and Georgia Southern I know is not in. They're 24-24. Troy's got to be the other team, right?
Troy, yes. Troy is the last team in.
So they're the 4. So
in Gainesville.
The 4 Sun Belt teams projected are Southern Miss, Coastal Carolina, Texas State, and Troy. Troy at 33-17, 13-11 in conference play, an RPI of 36. I read a lot about. We brought him up earlier in the week. Shane Lewis, the slugger for Troy. Our man, Mr. Vila, had a 26 notes on Troy's Shane Lewis on D1Baseball.com, Walter Vila. And I actually went through some of these 26 nuggets.
Wow.
We need this on every player in Hoover, Alabama.
Oh, my God.
Do you got time?
Get on it, Walter.
Do you have time, Mr. Walter Vila? I need this as like a cheat sheet. Some of these things on
add it to the doc.
Yeah, we'll go through the OneNote. But things about him, like just little quotables about him having the same amount of power. He's a switch hitter with 26 homers. Yeah. Same amount of power from the left and the right side. How he had never had a walk-off homer in his career until he faced Southern Miss, and he hit that home run off of a guy that he had been for Southern Miss. His name's escaping me now. He had been playing him since they were 6 years old. In school, because they were both from the same area in Mississippi. I thought that was super unique. Yes, here it is. It came off of Justin Storm, Lewis and Storm.
Oh, their closer.
Yeah, have played with and against each other since they were 6 years old back in their native Mississippi.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's so great to continue to shine stuff on the mid-major teams, right? Because they don't get as much coverage.
No.
Sometimes their athletic departments or athletic communications departments or both are strapped. So the SIDs are working multiple sports and don't have as much time to gather this info on these teams and promote these teams that are possibly going to be in the field of 64. And, phenomenal work by D1 Baseball to get under the hood and just, find the golden nuggets that we may need to broadcast about these teams.
Troy did lose to Alabama in the midweek on Tuesday. We talked about what that would mean for both teams as Alabama's trying to stay on the right side of the bubble. As good as Troy is as a Sun Belt team, a mid-major squad that could help boost their RPI, and in doing so, that win for Alabama in the non-con in the midweek might mean 13 SEC wins could be enough for the Crimson Tide as we get closer and closer to Selection Monday. Any other midweek? Before we get to Mays, and you can close the book here on the latest field of 64 projections, any other thoughts about what went on in the midweek that we need to remind listeners about?
Well, Northeastern came into College Park and stomped all over the Maryland Terrapins.
Mike Glavin and them boys.
Northeastern 37 wins now, right? Program record for the Huskies. They are a force to be reckoned with. They are a part of one of the 2 Northeast regionals. They're the 3 seed in Brighton. Boston College projected to host as the 14 overall seed. They've got BC, Oregon State, a lot of travel for the Beavs, Northeastern, and then Harvard out of the Ivy League sneaking in as that final team in that 4-team regional at Harrington Athletics Village, and of course Storrs, Connecticut at Elliott Ballpark, now projected to host as the final of the top 16 seeds for the UConn Huskies. But yeah, the big result in the midweek was Northeastern beating Maryland. The important part of all of this is for that Alabama and Troy result is that game was on a neutral field. So there's not as much of an RPI ding on someone if you lose.
Home of the Biscuits.
Right, Montgomery Biscuits. Yes, minor league baseball team.
How do you like your biscuits?
With jam on them.
You're a jam biscuit
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah.
Biscuit with jam?
Jam
Number
or
one,
butter.
if you could have a biscuit
Yeah.
only one way the rest of your life, how are you doing your biscuit?
I mean, are we taking like one thing, or like
Sounds
can
like
I
a
load it
poll
up?
question.
Probably butter. Just butter the biscuit.
Really?
Oh yeah. I like butter and fruit jam. Like that. Those are the two options I go with.
I haven't had a good biscuit with butter and fruit. Like you say, fruit jam.
Yeah.
Do you need to preface it with fruit in front of the jam? Isn't
Probably
it
not.
already?
Probably not. Yeah, you're right.
It's already fruit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just different
No,
cultures,
no,
perspectives.
sure.
I'm just curious.
I remember. I'm very.
I would say
visual.
I would say jelly.
Yeah, I'm very visual. I like read it off. I'm reading it like I'm reading it off the packaging right now. So it says like strawberry
Sure.
jam or whatever.
But jam and tell me, because there is a difference, right?
Yeah.
Jelly and jam.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the texture
Yes,
or
there's
the
a-
fullness, the dense.
There's a difference. I'm normally like when you get those packets at those mom and pop diners, I'm normally seeing it's a jam.
Okay.
So that's my reference point when I'm getting a biscuit. I'm getting jam and
I
slapping
think
it on
jelly and look, I love them both. I think jelly is more like Jell-O because I think
Sure.
it's derived from it
there. Yeah.
because it's a little bit more, I don't know, pungy, if that can describe it in any sort of way.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's gelatinous.
and the jam, the jam is just a little bit more hearty, but it seems a little healthier, more fruitful, more natural.
Yes. Yeah, it's not processed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Yeah, totally
I'm a
agree.
jam guy. Give me butter. Give me a layer of butter on my
Yep.
biscuit with the jam. But if I had to eat a biscuit one way the rest of my life, I mean, it's got to be biscuits and gravy, right?
Oh.
Biscuits and gravy. I mean, now I'm going to be 500 pounds.
Smothered in sauce. Yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah.
Or, give me a Chick-fil-A biscuit or
Oh, if we can go with with that, yeah.
Or
okay. I thought we
Bojangles,
were just going with like
I
the
don't know.
regular condiments. Yeah, if you can include meat. Oh God, yeah.
When I used to frequent Bojangles, especially before like hitting the golf course on a Sunday morning. This is
perfect. Should have done that yesterday.
This is before I transformed what was a dad bod into Legends of the Hidden Temple.
What a great show.
What an amazing show. I would get a grilled chicken biscuit with egg, and they'd slap a piece of American cheese on there. That thing wouldn't stay all on the biscuit bun. Like, it was huge. It was massive. But you get two of those, one for right before you start and then one at the turn. Instead of getting a turn dog, you have one of those grilled chicken, egg, and cheese biscuits. And, man, salt, everything.
Do you think you could escape from Olmec's Hidden Temple?
I would be stuck in that temple a long time. And you know what? I'd be okay with it.
I think so, too.
I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
I actually had the Legends of the Hidden Temple board game.
There's a what?
Yes.
There's a board game?
It was less of a board game, and it was the actual bridge with the temple guy on one end.
Olmec,
and
yeah.
then you had the bridge.
Yeah.
And then you had the other side that you had to get to, and you rolled the dice, and you got to move up one piece of the bridge at a time. And if you rolled the dice or picked up the card, it would give you a consequence card where you had to slap the temple guy's head. You pushed it down. You pushed his head down, and I can hear the noise right now where it's grinding the little motor, and it would cause the bridge to shake and twirl left and right, and it would throw you off the bridge if you weren't secure, because each wooden pallet, if you will, on the bridge would have like a little insertion that could hook onto your toe, your little figurine toe, as part of the game. And if you landed on a spot that might not have it, you weren't able to securely place yourself on that wooden pallet on that part of the bridge.
This
so
is
then
available for $37, and I'm
buy
seriously
it.
considering
Dude,
buying
game
this.
night at Jake's. I'm there.
Yes,
Dude, I'm sold.
you'll come.
I will come.
Yes.
So all those other games, man, come from like another universe. But Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Oh,
board game.
Endorsed.
Get it. Yeah.
I always wanted to go on that show as a kid.
What a phenomenon. Okay.
All right.
Instead of name 5 cereals, name your favorite Nickelodeon shows as kids. Not animation. I'm talking about the real life type. It could be the game, because there's other game shows.
Okay. Yeah.
I won't hold you to just game shows. Just
Okay.
give me the quick 5.
SpongeBob?
Well, that's animation. Can you
Oh,
not
oh,
do
I'm sorry.
animation?
I'm sorry.
I
You're
mean,
right,
you
you're
are
right,
you
you're
are
right.
a few years behind
You're
me.
right.
in
You're
age,
right. Okay. Well, Legends of the Hidden Temple for sure.
Okay.
Drake and Josh.
Never seen it.
Okay, yeah. A lot of mine were animation.
We should
all that.
We should have drafted this.
Yeah.
Very good. There you go. Now you're onto something.
Yep. That was a great show. Oh, Christ.
My name is Lori Beth Dimberg with your vital information for your everyday life. And, of course, it birthed Keenan and Kel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Who loves orange soda?
Yeah. Oh, man, I got to.
I love
All right, name some of yours because I'm only thinking animation.
All right, so here we go.
Yeah.
Guts.
Oh.
That
That is a good one.
Guts. All right, so Guts is one. Wild and Crazy Kids. Oh, you got to YouTube this one.
No.
You got to YouTube this one.
Okay.
Camp Anawana. Camp Anawana. We hold you in our hearts.
This is completely over my head.
And if you think about us, it makes you wanna. Camp Anawana. Camp Anawana. Camp Anawana. Ah! You talk about all-time tangent on this show. All right, so Camp Anawana.
Okay.
And then I'm going Double Dare 2000.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's on mine. Absolutely. I forgot about Double Dare.
And then here we go. Since you already took Legends of the Hidden Temple, and I will give you that, here is the fifth.
I'm allowed to have that. Yep.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Ooh. I have seen that. I did not watch it regularly as a child, but I have seen that.
Guts, Wild and Crazy Kids, Camp Anawana, Double Dare 2000, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Camp Anawana, it's got a guy who wears a bucket hat, too, the whole time at the camp. Kind of reminds you of a heavyweights camp, but it's not a heavyweights camp. And the guy's got suntan lotion always caked all over his nose. So every time I'm at the beach, I'm at the pool, I'm always the guy that takes the suntan lotion, and I just massage the heck out of my nose. I'm that guy.
Wasn't there a Slime Time show?
Yeah, but the slime was always involved with Double Dare.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
good.
Double Dare. All right.
Very good.
Good exercise.
Very good
Yeah.
exercise. Pete and Pete would be another one.
Didn't see that one.
That's way before your time.
Yeah. Didn't see that one.
What are you, 27?
I'll be 29 next month. Or 2 months.
I always think you're younger.
28 right now.
It's because I think I'm older.
Yeah. 1 year older, but none the wiser.
All right. Do we have the coach on the phone yet?
Let me look. Yes, we do actually have Randy Mazey on the phone. He's been patiently waiting through this whole Maze. We're sorry. He's been staring at us, and he's got this very weird look on his face.
Hang on. Let me get back into character here. Let me get professional.
All right, let me punch Randy Mazey onto the line here. All right, here we go, Coach. We're sorry for the delay. We'll get things going here.
Randy Mazey is the head coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers in his 11th season in Morgantown. West Virginia just completing a series sweep of the Pitt Panthers. They've won 15 of their last 18 games, 4 straight Big 12 series wins overall, 37-12, 13-5 in the league, ranked 12th nationally by D1.com and the D1Baseball.com top 25 rankings. Randy, appreciate you joining us on College Sports Now. Kyle Schassburger, David Kahn with you. We're interviewing you via video, so I can see the magnificent facial hair ensemble that you have. Just a couple of dudes rocking the facial hair. Not so much David Kahn, though.
Well, if you want to see the best facial hair in the world, just hold a mirror up in front of your face. You're rocking the old Tom Selleck style mustache.
Oh, you sound a lot like my father. That's his go-to, naming me Tom Selleck, for sure. I appreciate that. Hey, where are you speaking to us from right now? Is this your office?
This is my office. I've got the best setup in the world. If I look to my right, I'm overlooking our stadium, and don't know how much you can see behind me, but I can see for 20 to 30 miles back to Cooper's Rock State Forest. We sell this place as one of the best settings in all of college baseball. And I get to sit here and look at it every day. How can you beat that?
That's beautiful. That's gorgeous, especially what's outside. What about inside, though? What's the most sentimental item of value, maybe, in terms of what it means to you, memorabilia-wise? You got anything cool in there that means a lot to Randy Mazey?
Yeah, we do. We have all of our big leaguers, a big spread of all of our big leaguers in the stadium. As soon as you walk in, you see them, and I think we're going on. I've had 3 big leaguers since we've been here. Michael Grove was pitching with the Dodgers right now. John Means was a Mountaineer, one of my first years here, and threw a no-hitter for the Orioles a couple of years ago. And, of course, Big Alec Manoah out there making the Mountaineers proud. And walking past those guys and seeing how far they've come, and that's definitely a source of pride. But it's hard to pick one. We have academic awards down there, and the years we hosted regionals, and I can't walk through this place without going down memory lane and experiencing some of the greatest things we've had here.
Yeah, and all those wins carry so much significance. And I know every game in those seasons and this season has been so measured, as you've indicated. You've even noted the added layer of sweetness this year, most recently in securing that series sweep in the backyard brawl over Pitt. I'm curious, though, as you're hitting the final stretch of the regular season, trying to maintain your lead in the Big 12 ahead of the postseason, how much jazzing up of your guys is needed before a game? Do these kind of moments and the rivalries, whether it would be inside the league or even with Pitt, speak for themselves when it comes to your team understanding what's expected of them and getting the job done, or do they need a little bit of extra motivation?
I think it's more about jazzing them down instead of jazzing them up. You get to this time of the year, man, there's so many distractions and polls and predictions and projections, and it's so easy to look ahead this time of the year. So it's really our job to keep them from doing that and trying to stay motivated one game at a time, because as soon as you start looking ahead, this sport has a way of kicking you right in the gut. So we got to, and the beauty of this time of the year, we're done with final exams. So there's nothing left but baseball. And we tell our kids all the time, if you have aspirations of playing professional baseball, here's a couple of weeks in the life of a professional baseball player. You don't get up and go to class. You just get up and think about your baseball day. And so this is a really good trial run for them for the minor league. So this is a really important time of the year, but I think we've done a good job of keeping them pretty focused.
Take us back to the beginning of the regular season with all the new pieces you had coming in, including 5 transfers. They've all made an impact on this year's team, especially Landon Wallace, Caleb McNeely, Blaine Traxel. Did you see these results coming for this group before the year began?
We knew we were going to have a good team, and we try and identify the right kids. The thing about our place, the kids that we've gotten out of the transfer portal, it's kind of unique in the fact that all the kids that we get out of the portal seem to have better years for us than they had at their previous institutions. And I think that's a credit to our coaching staff, our strength staff, our nutrition staff, our culture here, because we try and really invest a lot of time and resources in the kids. And I think we do that more than anyone else out there. So when kids come here from other schools, it's like, hey, man, this is pretty cool. I'm getting treated pretty well here. Why don't I just go ahead and play better? So those guys have all, like you said, going back to, Trey Braithwaite and Chase Smith and all the guys that we've gotten out of the portal really have done well here. And like you said, Trax and Lando and McNeely, those guys are no exception.
Yeah, they certainly aren't. And you talk about guys who have had better years this season, especially. Well, this isn't a guy who's in the transfer portal, but he's only a sophomore, and I doubt anyone can argue that someone has had a bigger year this season, possibly across the country, than J.J. Weatherhold, who leads the nation in average. He leads your team in homers, runs batted in, runs, doubles, steals, also striking out the least of any Mountaineer batter, not to mention his impeccable defense. Is it hard for you to believe he's only a sophomore with how big of a stride he's taken this year after being a freshman All-American?
It's amazing what he's done, but all the other people out there are getting to see what we've known for a while, what kind of player JJ was. You can't ever predict a season like this that he's having, but if anybody could do it, JJ could do it. He literally checks every box that there is for a kid who's doing what he's doing. And right when you think, you guys know hitting, you have slumps, you have hot streaks. JJ doesn't. He's getting a lot of hype. He's getting a lot of accolades. And right when you think that it's time to slow down, we go into the game last night, and his at-bats are line drive to left center for a single, line drive to right center for a double, a 3-run homer, and then they bring a lefty in to face him, and he slams the line drive to center field. He steals a base. He made 2 unbelievable plays on defense. I mean, the kid there's nothing right now that he can't do. And I don't know who votes on our baseball version of the Heisman Trophy, the Golden Spikes people, but how could you not consider what that guy's done?
Absolutely. Hitting 470 right now after the win over Pitt last night, 9-8 West Virginia, 37-12, winners of 15 of their last 18 as the head coach of the Mountaineers. Randy Mazey joins us here on College Sports Now. You talk about another guy who's really taken a step in the right direction this year, Mays. It's Tevin Tucker, a guy who has been an institution for this WVU team over the last 5 seasons, yet mainly he'd been touted for his defense. This year, though, the offense has finally clicked for him, hitting over 340. What flipped the switch for him at the plate this season? I know he's been dealing with a couple of injuries during his career as well, but it really seems like he's a totally different player at the plate.
Yeah, he really is. And, Tevin spent 3 or 4 years here hitting ninth in the batting order and hitting under 200. And, in today's world, every time you step up to the batter's box, you look at the scoreboard and it flashes your average up there. And he'd look up and he'd be hitting 175. And it was just self-defeating, and we always said his defense is so good. If he would just hit 225, he would just do that. He could really help the team. And I had a talk with Tevin, I don't know, about the halfway point and said, man, we really don't need you to get hits. You're such a leader. You're such a defender. We need you to be the point guard of this offense. A point guard doesn't have to score 20 points to help his team win. He just has to make the situation better after he hit than it was before he hit. If it meant moving a guy, taking a walk, taking a hit by pitch, and Tevin, I think, really took that to heart. I don't need to get hits. I just need to help my team win. And then to further elaborate on that point, we moved him to the leadoff spot to hit in front of JJ. And then Tevin took it upon himself as it's my job to get JJ Weatherholt to home plate with men on base. So he takes 3-1 pitches. He takes 2-0 pitches. Most kids get upset when you give them the take sign in those counts because those are hitters' counts. But Tev lives for that stuff because he's just trying to get JJ up there. And he really has – his leadership is just off the charts. We had a 3-hour rain delay on Saturday, and Tev's out in the dugout, the only kid on the field signing autographs. There was a line of kids lined up to get his autograph, and we won a big game on Friday, and the whole team is going out to eat. Tev's playing football with 2 little kids in right field. He's just an amazing kid. He's been a mentor and a big brother to my son Whammer, and he's got another year, so I don't ever want to coach a game without Tevin Tucker in uniform.
Tev is third on the team in stolen bases, 18 of 21, which leads me to Maisie Ball, as it's been coined over the years. Your team's ability to take the extra base, be so aggressive on the base pass. You continue to rank near the top of the country in stolen bases, 115 swipe bags this year and 134 attempts. Leads the Big 12, good for 9th nationally. I'm curious, Mays, if you can, describe the origin of this approach within your program and how it became such a staple.
Oh, it probably started out that way selfishly. I was that kind of player. I was a two-way guy at Clemson when I played, and I loved to run and steal bases, and I was a pitcher too, and I loved to pick runners. And we have this whole system of stealing bases and keeping the other team from stealing bases. And selfishly, it's just a lot more fun to coach that way. You can do a lot more things at practice, and we didn't do it by design. We just did it that way. And when we started running a little bit, we just started attracting those types of kids to our program. If you're a young kid out there or a transfer out there that likes to steal bases, how in the world could you not consider coming to West Virginia, because we just give guys the freedom to run, and guys like Tevin and JJ and the older kids, Braden Berry. My sign for those guys to steal the base is, I just basically do that, and it's up to you, man. You guys have been around, you know the drill. So, but we don't run just to run either. We don't just try and blow up our numbers. We run in order to win the game. I think we stole 6 last night, and it was a 1-run 9-8 game. So they were all really, really important. And that's been a staple. I think you guys could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we lead all of Power Five in the last 5 years in stolen bases. It's not a 1 year flash in the pan kind of thing. It's been a consistent staple of our program.
Yeah, and that strategy has kind of probably helped even more so this year with the addition of the action clock, the game speeding up for everybody else. Well, you guys have already sped it up for the last, decade plus or so with you at the helm for 11 seasons in West Virginia. So I'm sure that made it a little bit easier for at least you and your staff and for some of these players that have been at West Virginia to adjust to the new rules regarding the pace of play in college baseball. Speaking of playing in West Virginia, since that regional that was hosted at Mon County Ballpark 4 years ago, there's, I know, been this expectation among the West Virginia fan base to get back to the postseason every season. And the last 2 years, it hasn't happened. Last year, seemingly a bit more of a shocker when the Mountaineers were on the wrong side of the bubble on Selection Monday. Have those expectations put more pressure on your team here in 2023, or has that been more of a motivation to say, hey, we were right there, but we didn't put the final nail in the coffin to get us into the postseason. We need to make sure of it this year?
Yeah, the old cliche saying, don't ever leave it in the hands of the judges because you don't know who the judges are. So we've always played with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder up here. We're a northern team in a league that's down south, and we have to play with an edge. And I think everybody that sees us play will tell you we play with a little bit of an edge up here. And that's served us well, over the years. And I think this year the difference is when we hosted that regional in 2019, our place was just jammed up with people. I think tickets on StubHub were going for $500 for a West Virginia baseball game at the time. That's unheard of around here. And there were so many people here. I think it worked against us that first year because our kids they felt the pressure more than the other teams because, we take pride and we talk about it all the time that we're representing an entire state. 1.8 million people in the state of West Virginia are watching us play, and we're trying to make them proud. And I think that rattled our guys a little bit that year. But this year, we're having those crowds every game now. So now I think our kids are used to it. They're responding to it. They're playing well in front of our people. This is the most fun that people have ever had in the history of this program, from playing, coaching, community standpoint around the state. I can't imagine there's ever been a better time in the history of West Virginia baseball than what we're doing right now.
You talk about those attendance figures, Randy. It's like where I was trying to go with this. Perfect segue. You set the single game attendance mark on Saturday, the lone game that you lost last week against Oklahoma. You won the rubber game. By the way, 10 straight wins with Friday night's win over the Sooners. It was your first 10-game winning streak since 2016. Also marked the 11th time in program history the Mountaineers have reached the 35-win plateau, first time since 2019. But Mays, going back to 2013, your first season in Morgantown, you were picked to finish last in the league before going on to win 33 games, win 13-11 in Big 12 play. Then the very next year in 2014 is when you're starting to publicize, hey, we're filling this place. We're getting 1,000 fans, per game in consecutive seasons. These are new heights at the time in 2013 and 2014 that your program had never seen before. Fast forward now to 2013, and on Saturday against Oklahoma, you've got more than 4,300 fans there in Morgantown. What has it meant to you to be able to see the progression, the buy-in, the investment from this fan base here over the years in a decade plus?
That's a great question. I'm a relationship guy. I'm a community guy. I love our state. It's so exciting to me for the people in this community to be on board and have something to be really excited about this time of the year. Like you said, back in the day at the old Holly Field, if we got 1,000 people, man, they were hanging off the trees. And now it's pretty hard to get a ticket. We're having to turn people away because there's some standing room only situations. But it's been amazing to see the transformation. And I think the difference was the 2019 regional we hosted. And the reason we hosted that was because of guys like Alec Manoa and Darius Hill and people like that put this program on the map. But, going back to that first season, I kind of stumbled into a gold mine. We were picked to finish last that first year in the league. we had a pitcher named Harrison Musgrave, a West Virginia kid who was coming off an injury. And I'd have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure that our first year in the Big 12, he threw 5 consecutive complete game shutouts on Friday night in the Big 12 in our first year. And that's unheard of. He was the National Pitcher of the Week 4 different times. And we also had 3 kids that I stumbled into my first year that I didn't recruit that were already in the program that finished first, second, and third in batting average in the Big 12. And that was Ryan McBroom and Billy Fleming and Bobby Boyd. And to step into those guys doing that my first year really flipped this program. You know, we finished third that first year and won those games. And I think that's when community and state got on board and said, hey, man, we can really have a pretty good program up there. And we've just continued to get better over the years. And, you know, it takes a little bit of time. And it's hard to win a regional the first time you go to it. In 2017, we went to Wake Forest and played in the championship. And it's hard to win a regional the first time you host it. So that experience just keeps building up. And hopefully, if we're able to get in the postseason this year, that experience over the last couple of years will serve us really well because our kids are starting to get used to it.
Yeah, and all signs are indicating that you will have a chance to host a regional. Right now, you are a top 8 national seed, the 7th national seed, and would be hosting a regional in Morgantown for the first time since 2019. Coach, one final question. We know you got to run. Appreciate the time you've given us so far. The pretzel necklace that Ben Hampton created and is now worn by every Mountaineer following a home run. What do you think of it? Did you know this was happening, or did the team just come up with this on their own?
Yeah, I have no idea. When I'm standing in the dugout, all I'm concerned with is the 5-foot radius that surrounds me. It's amazing the stuff that goes on in the dugout that I'm not aware of. So somebody brought that to my attention, I don't know, a couple weeks ago about the pretzel necklace, and I didn't even know what they were talking about. But, hey, man, in today's world, if kids can have fun playing the game, I'm all about it. I don't care if it's a licorice necklace or a pretzel necklace. If there's a way that kids at this age, you know, we spend our whole lives trying to tell kids this is a game that we're playing. Don't ever identify yourself as a person by how many hits you get or what your ERA is. You're still playing a game, so do what you can do to have fun with it. And I think our guys are having a lot of fun with some of the antics that they're doing, and people are catching on, and the crowds. It's amazing. You guys know, you watch college baseball, every time somebody hits a double and they do their sign that every team does when they get to second base. Now everybody in the crowd is doing that sign with our guy at second base. So it's been so much fun. This is probably the most fun I've ever had in my coaching career. And I'm just glad that I can share it with this team and with this community and with this state. It's just something I'll never forget.
If you were to make a necklace out of any food for your home run necklace, what would it be?
I would probably make a necklace out of Alaskan king crab legs, probably with a little bit of melted butter on the side, just in case we didn't hit a home run.
So
At least I'd have something to eat that I would really enjoy.
That is spectacular. Great follow-up, Kahn. Touche for you. He is Randy Mays. He is in his 11th season as the head coach of West Virginia. The Mountaineers this weekend will have Texas Tech, 6:30 Friday, 4 o'clock Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday. And then they will close at Texas in Big 12 play. Macy, 333, 242 overall with the Mountaineers, 519 career wins as a head coach. Mace, thanks so much for joining us on College Sports Now.
All right, thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.
Randy Macy, love it.
Wow.
Beautiful get, Kahn. Thanks for reaching out to the fine folks in Morgantown, West Virginia, with an RPI of 18, strength of schedule at 66. Again, 37-12, 13-5, a 2-game lead over both Oklahoma State and K-State in the Big 12. And the Mountaineers own both tiebreakers, winning both of those series on the road. But Macy, tremendous individual, some good charisma in spite of him only focusing on a 5-foot radius in the dugout, which I think I can relate to too. That's kind of the the Midwestern Chicago in me where I just keep my head down and I focus on just that singular energy all around me and me only because it's all about me. And for Mays, it's all about him on game day. Don't bother him. He ain't paying no one no attention.
No, if you watch Randy Mazie when West Virginia is playing a game, if he's in the dugout, he's on the top step, and he is just lasered in on the pitcher and the catcher. That's it. And then when he's in the field, when they're hitting, he's at third base, and that's it. He's just directed at the batter or a base runner. That's one singular look for Randy Mazie. That's all you get. He doesn't really show any kind of emotion during a game. He is stone-faced, he is locked in, and he's got this team locked in because West Virginia is having a whale of a season at 37-12. And like we said earlier this week, they're deserving of a top 8 national seed. And look at that, Shass. Number 7.
Number 7 on this week's projections. Mazie played his college baseball at Clemson, so a little Clemson flavor back-to-back weeks.
That was unintentional, by the way. It just happened.
Eric Backage on the show last week, and Clemson alumnus, Mr. Randy Mazie, who also was a head coach at Charleston Southern from 94 to 96, ECU 03 to 05, before going to TCU where he was an assistant, also at Clemson, Georgia, and Tennessee during his time as an assistant coach. So 4 straight Big 12 series wins for the Mountaineers. Again, Texas Tech this weekend, and then they close at Texas in the regular season. I think we both know where Randy Mazie stands, and I loved his soliloquy on having fun, on baseball players expressing themselves, because you and I talked about Blaine Traxel earlier in the week in our social, wasn't our social display of affection, but I think it was my hat tip for Blaine Traxel having fun, in spite of even picking up a loss on Saturday. He's got, 4 or 5 complete games to lead the team. 5. Traxel was out there celebrating a home run in the rubber match on Sunday, where he put on a traffic cone on his head and the catcher's mask, and he was parading outside the dugout, and he got ran because he was using the prop outside the dugout. So I do know that Randy Mazie was at least alert to that fact, because he had to have the discussion with the umpiring crew after Traxel got ejected. But do you think Randy Mazie was even aware at any point that Blaine Traxel was parading with the traffic cone and the catcher's mask before the ejection?
0% chance he knew that he was wearing that. He was too focused on ordering his Alaskan king crab legs to the dugout.
That's where I was going next. Yes. Bravo. Man, what a menace of a necklace.
How intimidating would that be if you just want to walk out and they've got crab legs dangling from their neck?
I had to type this in to look him up. Alaskan king crab legs. If you're watching on YouTube on the Varsity channel, you can see I've got them up here, and I'm just picturing them on what would it be, like a wiry necklace or cloth, maybe like a shoelace.
That's the cool thing about the pretzel necklace is they use the pretzels to link each other. They actually bite off a piece of the pretzel. They lick both ends, link another pretzel, and then put the original piece back together.
And they're all touching it. They're all putting their mouths on
Oh, it's disgusting.
That's teamwork, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, teamwork makes the dream work.
But they use the same one. They use one singular necklace until it breaks, and then they make a new one. But Ben Hampton, their ace, is the creator of the pretzel necklace.
That's phenomenal.
Yes.
He mentioned like a licorice necklace.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I would
give me a strawberry Twizzler necklace.
I would eat that. I would just be gone.
So quick. Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. Is the pretzels. I mean, I like pretzels. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I would be enticed to eat them. I'd more rather, preserve it.
Yeah.
If it was Alaskan king crab, gone. Melted butter, goodbye. Licorice, anything candy, like those candy necklaces with the little Smarties on them or whatever, gone.
I would want, how it was Flava Flav who wore the big clock, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I would want like a Chicago pizza dangling, like
the
size of a big clock, just dangling, baby. Yeah, with a big thick chain too, like a what kind of chain? What would be the best? You know how when you're at the gym, you can use the ropes for your shoulder exercises?
Yeah.
I want like that rope thickness, but
Okay.
I want it in the size of like a chain, and then I want the pizza to somehow be weaved into that like a big clock in front of my chest.
I used to work when I was in college. I was a game day intern for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
And one of my jobs was to go in the locker room after the game and record the media doing interviews so we could type them up and send them to the rest of the media that weren't there. So Cameron Jordan used to play for the Saints, defensive lineman.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorites. He was such a nice guy. Actually, talked to me. He was like a random kid. And so one time it was Christmas around that time, and so players were handing out Christmas gifts. And I remember we're in the locker room, and I'm not looking at Cameron Jordan's locker, but I'm turning around to go see if he's getting interviewed because he had a good game. And I turn around, And Cameron Jordan's got this gigantic chain hanging over his neck, and attached to it is like a 3-foot boombox. And it's just hanging down. Like, this chain goes all the way down to his hips, and the boombox is covering, everything else. And, I mean, it was the most massive thing I've ever seen. And it's solid gold, like just pure gold, whatever. And he just walked around the locker room, and it's bouncing up and down as he's going towards the media. And he did his whole media session with the boombox just hanging over himself. And they asked him, like, where'd you get that? He goes, it's a Christmas gift. And that was it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Maisie, though, seems like a good guy both on and off the field, though, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I would totally agree with that. The thing about Randy Maisie, and we didn't get a chance to get into this on the interview.
You Zoomed with his wife.
I have Zoomed with his wife before, yes. So
this came up off air, I think,
yeah.
before the pod actually
Yeah.
picked up. In terms of us communicating and scheduling this interview, and again, our thanks to the folks at West Virginia for helping to square up Randy Maisie. But you alerted or reminded them of the fact that you and Mrs. Maisie,
yes, Amanda Maisie,
were Zoom mates.
Yes, we were. So I work on the West Virginia broadcast, right? Football, men's basketball studio host. And during the COVID year, Amanda Maisie used to be on the pregame shows, used to create pregame features for our football broadcasts. Well, during the COVID year, she couldn't go and record those locally because you couldn't be in touch with the players. So we had to Zoom them, and I was in charge of creating the Zooms and helping out with the technology side of things. So I would connect Amanda and the football SID, Mike Montoro, and they would bring in the players and the coaches, and Amanda would Zoom them, and I would record them in our studios, send the audio back to Amanda, and then she would put the feature together. So I have seen pretty much every room in the Maisie household via the background of one Amanda Maisie, who is Randy Maisie's wife, and Randy also has several children, one of which actually had a pretty remarkable story a couple years ago, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this. I didn't really want to bring it up because it is a bit of a harsh memory for the Maisie family, but it turned into a positive one. So his son, whose name, he goes by Whammer, but his name is Weston Maisie. Everyone calls him Whammer, though. March 9th, 2021, he was at a West Virginia ballpark helping his dad practice or whatever, and he had a very horrific collision with another player during this practice where he basically got kicked in the face by a center fielder, and he broke – I'm looking this up again because I want to make sure I get this right. He was diagnosed with a fractured skull, several other traumatic brain injuries that were potentially life-threatening as well.
Yes, in 2001.
Yeah, and he had several broken bones in his face. So, but the thing is, like, they rushed him to the hospital. There was a point where they didn't think he was going to make it. At 14 years old. And he spent a week in the ICU, recovered, and over a 72-day period, fully recovered. So, and here's the thing. Randy Maisie talks about how the community has rallied around this baseball team. The biggest thing that was noticed for Randy Maisie and his family, and he talked about this all throughout the 2021 and 22 seasons, was how much the community rallied around Weston Maisie and the Maisie family as they went through this very traumatic experience where their 14-year-old son was on life support. I mean, he couldn't breathe on his own. And he had to, really, get his balance, his mobility back. He did recover. He has no lasting effects from this injury, but you go from thinking your child might die to, recovering as well as he did and as quickly as he did. It really brought that family closer together, but it also brought the Maisies even closer to the West Virginia community. There's a tradition that West Virginia's ball players, after they win a game, will line up on the first baseline, and they'll sing Country Roads, the John Denver song, with the home fans after every win. Well, the first game after this incident to Weston Maisie, when he's in the hospital, West Virginia won the game. Instead of doing that at the ballpark, all the players drove to the hospital and lined up outside Weston Maisie's room and sang Country Roads.
Wow.
To the Maisie, and Randy was there. Obviously, he stepped away from the team. Steve Sabins, their assistant coach, was coaching at the time. But Maisie was there. His wife was there. His other family was there, and the entire team lined up and sang Country Roads after that first game. So Maisie talks about how much the community means to him. Well, he means that much to the community of West Virginia, and that's why they're supporting him the way they are, and they have in years past. But really this year, as they broke the single-game attendance record, this team is playing well, and they have a coach that is beloved, and they will go to war for it.
That's a phenomenal story. Thank you for shining a light on that. Certainly taking the lowest of lows and being able to make the most out of the situation. And certainly it helps that Weston, Whammer, was able to make such a miraculous, turnaround and recovery when it wasn't expected that at one point that he could even survive it. And the fact that he commits to West Virginia too, and the family, the Mazie family, still doing all they can to help raise awareness to brain injuries in general. There even was a website set up at the
Team
time
Whammer.
that is still active, teamwhammer.com, WAMMER.com. So our thanks to Randy Mazie. All the best to him in West Virginia moving forward this season and beyond for him and his family. Weston and Sierra, his 2 children, Randy and Amanda. Wow, awesome. Good stuff. Where do we go from here? Lineup card?
Yeah, I guess.
And then we can get out of here.
Get ready for the weekend.
Yeah, we've done all the fun. That's enough fun for today. That's enough fun until next Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right, when you and I
have
are
another
back.
episode.
By the way, we're recording late on Monday night.
Yes.
So might be a little pop, little crack. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a special guest as well on Tuesday. We don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll keep you in the dark. Okay, lineup card. All right, here we go. Number 3, Arkansas. Number 6, South Carolina. Of course, we just got big news coming out of there.
Will Sanders.
That Will Sanders not going to pitch this weekend.
Lower body injury.
Yep. Tough. Now, are they getting Noah Hall back? We don't think so. So, Gamecocks down 2 starters.
I think they
on the
might
mound.
get a position player or 2 back, though.
Yes,
I don't know
but
if McGillis is back.
pitching at a limited capacity for South Carolina this weekend in Fayetteville. So, advantage Hogs for right now. Number 5, Vanderbilt has to go to Gainesville to take on number 7, Florida. Both those teams coming off series losses from a week ago. 17th rated Kentucky at number 23, Tennessee. We got a huge one in Conference USA. Number 18, DBU, and number 22, USA. Of course, Dallas Baptist just falling out of the top 16. Davidson and St. Louis, the top 2 teams in the A-10, will go toe-to-toe this week. A in-state rivalry, NC State heads to the Bosch to take on North Carolina. Kansas State and Oklahoma State, the 2nd and 3rd teams behind West Virginia, each 2 games back. In the Big 12, will go at it, and I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I think if Oklahoma State wins that series, I will buy them as a top 16 host seed. UNCW takes on College of Charleston, and then San Diego State and Air Force, the top 2 teams in the Mountain West, will go toe-to-toe as well. So that's a pretty heavy weekend lineup card in the penultimate weekend of the regular season. Do you have a surefire lock coming out of that slate of games I just mentioned, or is there another series percolating in your mind, Kyle Schassburger?
I'm going to give it a look in real time right now. I didn't listen to a word you – well, no. I know you gave all the notables. The series that are beginning on Thursday include State Bonaventure and Dayton. If that does anything for your A-10 fancy, there's actually 1 game already underway. Top of the first inning, they're scheduled to play 2 today. So likely playing a Thursday, Friday, or maybe even a Thursday, Saturday. I don't know, depending on the weather situation. Up there in Dayton, Ohio. NC State, North Carolina is a Thursday series beginning the ACC. That's going to be fun, right? I mean, anytime the Wolfpack and the Tar Heels are getting together, implications certainly there in terms of seeding. 2, 3, how far out west might you get shipped? How far up north? NC State, I think, was heading up north in the projections we were looking at earlier today. Among the other series beginning on Thursday, Kansas at Samford. That's bizarre, but again, the Big 12.
A lot of out-of-conference this week.
BC's hosting a lot of that.
BC's hosting Villanova.
St. Peter's and Quinnipiac, Siena, Mount St. Mary's, Little Metro Athletic. Nothing there. Your SEC Thursday series is Auburn at Ole Miss and BYU at Pacific. As for the weekend, my lock will come out of the weekend, or it could come out of State and Carolina. I'm going to go with what's juicy. Give me Kentucky.
Okay.
Taking 2 out of 3 at Tennessee.
Oh. Wildcats get their 2nd straight series win. And Vols' 2nd straight series loss.
Yes.
In Lindsey Nelson, where
Lindsey
Tennessee
Nelson.
doesn't lose?
Yes, at Lindsey Nelson. So Kentucky was the first team, right, to win a series over Tennessee last year. And it happened earlier than what LSU had experienced, getting all the way into May. It was like mid-April.
Yep.
I remember weather wreaked havoc.
That was at Proud Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was in Lexington.
Yes. This is a rematch.
My favorite series, staying in the SEC, is Vanderbilt at Florida. How will the Gators rebound? How will Vanderbilt rebound? Each of them are coming off series defeats. Just a tumultuous week for the top 5 of those in the SEC. 4 of the 5 dropping series. South Carolina was swept. South Carolina's lost 5 out of 6 SEC games. Against Arkansas, the Hogs, this is in Fayetteville. Hogs are 11-1 in SEC play at home. The only loss against Brad Bohannon and Alabama.
Just one, though.
Which was the day before he mocked all of Woo Pig Sooie. Yeah, I'm going to go with Kentucky. Give me the Wildcats.
Okay. 2 of 3. Not a sweep.
2 out of 3. No sweep. But Kentucky will continue to tighten the reins that they have currently as a host and a top 8 national seed perhaps. Which
number 1 in the RPI again.
Number 1 in the RPI.
Yeah.
They're projected as the number 8 overall, right? National, just sliding into that top 8 picture. So, I don't know, man. Just some about this Kentucky team and just finding a way. And Nick Mingione, I think, is one of the more underrated. I mean, certainly it's not underrated in our eyes, or if you're listening to this podcast and you're an SEC baseball fan, like Kentucky has become a team that no longer is just some pushover.
No.
Like
they
there
play
was
the toughest schedule in the country.
There was a time, okay? We talk about how high and mighty the SEC is, but there was a time, 3-4 years ago, where there were 2 or 3, maybe even 4 walkover-like teams that you knew that you weren't afraid of on the schedule. And at this point, it's really just Ole Miss and Mississippi State, but still they're the last 2 defending national champions. You're just waiting on them, to wake up. So, I'm trying to I want to pull up. I want to see who is leading them in average. So for Kentucky, their leading hitter is Jackson Gray at 372.
Yep.
They've got 5 guys all hitting over 300, which when you look across the country, that's actually pretty par for the course. At least 5 dudes hit above 300. But who's the catcher that I like? Devin Burks. Yeah, I really like Devin Burks.
He was the guy who became the starting catcher late in the season, like late April. He was slotted into the lineup and then just performed admirably in Hoover as well. Now, of course, the interesting thing about Kentucky,
they don't have a pitcher with more than 4 wins, by the way.
Well, so they lost all 9 hitters that had 100 at-bats or more from last season coming into this year. And they lost Sean Harney, Daniel Harper, Tyler Guilfoyle.
Guilfoyle, yes.
Studs. Dude. All 3 studs. Yeah. So they have rebuilt this team from the studs. And it's interesting because Nick Mingione calls his offense, this is a great word, chaos. He calls his offense chaos. You talk about Maisie ball. Kentucky's got chaos. They bunt. They steal. They hit and run. They do it all. And they know that teams are expecting it, and they do it anyways. It doesn't matter. They don't care. They're like, this is our brand of baseball. We're going to play it, try and beat it. And they've stuck to that all season. They went 24-3 in the non-con, and their non-con was really hard. They elected to play 2 series away from home, not at neutral sites, at the opponent's venue, which normally during the non-con, most teams elect to play at home or in those neutral site tournaments. They elected not to do that, and it ended up benefiting them en route to the number 1 RPI in the country. So, ballsy move by Nick Mingione, but it worked for now. They got to close out they close out with Tennessee and Florida after what has already been a gauntlet of an SEC schedule from the middle of April to now. But, they get through that. Like right now they're a top 8 national seed. If they can even split that 3-3, they're a top 8 national seed in my opinion.
It's officially on the board. Chaos over Vols. UK wins 2 out of 3. Okay.
You just love your board.
UK. Yeah. What? Little John, folks. Little John.
Oh, boy.
All right, that's all I got, man.
Oh,
is there anything else we need to NFL schedule release tonight.
Oh, yes.
Are you excited? The schedule pieces have been leaking out throughout much of the day. We already knew the opponents. This is just the NFL being the genius money squandering organization and entity that they are.
I'm ambivalent.
You stretch out the league calendar.
I'm ambivalent.
And you're going to have all the social media posts. You're going to have all the 8 o'clock Eastern Bears schedule will come out.
I like watching the social media ways they release them. Those are cool.
Yeah, from a content standpoint.
Right, but other than that, I don't care.
Yeah. The Bears reportedly will be opening the season at home against the Aaron Rodgers-less Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love. And then they will go 17 weeks until they see the Packers again in Week 18. So
I know the Patriots will probably open against the Dolphins because they usually do that. And they play in Germany in the middle of November.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I know. That's all I got.
Bears likely going to Arrowhead, too. They are playing the Chiefs away, but there was a question of whether they go to Germany or not. So, again, I'm the Bears fan. He's the Patriots fan. This has been College Sports Now. Randy Mazie, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Love it.
Follow us at CS Now Tweets. Follow us at Kyle Schass, at SportsCon4, at L_Surberino, too, if you want to blow him up. Check in on his golf game. Man, hit one in from 75 yards out.
Mm-hmm.
Find him on social media. He's an internet
4
sensation.
straight rounds under 100 for Michael Surber.
That's phenomenal. I shot a 72 recently. Dude, Surber didn't even respond to that in the thread. What's he doing, man?
I know, but you also lied.
Yeah, but I'm trying to elicit a reaction. It shows that nobody cares.
I responded.
Yeah, but everyone should question that. Don't just take it at face value. I shot a 72 yesterday. The appropriate response, should be, you shot a 72? No way. Absolutely not.
But
not
I couldn't
job.
send that because I knew it wasn't true, so I wanted Surber to respond.
But he didn't even respond.
And then I could have gone off of that. You shot a 72. Now, you shot a great round yesterday. You shot 72 through 16 holes. Realistically, you were going to be at an 80.
Yes.
Probably 80, 81 range.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal. But I wanted him to respond so that I could go in at the end and be like, well, but,
he didn't
he didn't give me the
He didn't even give me the moment.
Mm-mm.
He didn't give me the satisfaction of being able to, get him to play
You
along.
went birdie and then 4 pars in a row and then another birdie. I mean, you were on fire on the back nine.
I was playing, and for your second full time out, really the third time I've picked up a club and played a hole since November, 3 times in the last 6 weeks or so. Again, you just got to play. You got to get out there. But no, I was very happy. Very happy. It kind of makes you want to get out again, but then it doesn't because then I don't want to play too much. And you're overthinking, you're overplaying. So
I was excited about my chipping. I had several really good pitch. I almost pitched one in from the other side of the cart path.
Yeah,
I hit the pin.
You did hit the pin. There was we were throwing darts, man.
Yeah,
we were throwing some darts.
I threw darts too far. I hit my 5-iron twice over the green on par 3s.
Hey, happy! I'm glad we can go over Nickelodeon shows on the program as well. So that was good. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, the aunties, the grandmas, all the beautiful women in all of your lives. Be sure to hold them close, all right? Give them a phone call, send them a card, send them a present, give them a smooch, whatever.
I sent mine. They're in the mail. Mom, gifts on the way, too.
Hey, just being real, not trying to end on a sour note, okay? But, before you know it, Mom will be gone. So, I think about it every day. So, take care of Mom this weekend. Happy Mother's Day. To all the real MVPs out there. He's David Kahn. I'm Kyle Schassburger. Thanks again to Randy Mazie. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, on College Sports Now.
Doses.